Create a compelling and psychologically rich narrative titled, The Psychology of People Who Don't Obsess Over Sports. Explore the deeper mental frameworks, behavioral patterns, emotional tendencies, and personality traits commonly found in people who do not spend significant time following sports teams, matches, tournaments, leagues, or athletic competitions. Begin by addressing the common assumption that everyone naturally enjoys sports and explain why this belief does not reflect the diversity of human psychology. Examine how different individuals seek stimulation, entertainment, meaning, and excitement through different channels. Discuss how some people are naturally drawn toward intellectual curiosity, creative expression, entrepreneurship, technology, science, history, philosophy, literature, self-improvement, or personal goals rather than spectator-based competition. Analyze the psychological differences between those who gain emotional rewards from sports fandom and those who prefer investing their attention elsewhere. Explain how personality traits such as introversion, openness to experience, independence, analytical thinking, and a strong preference for intrinsic motivation can influence a person's relationship with sports. Explore how certain individuals feel little emotional attachment to teams, championships, rivalries, or sporting outcomes because their minds are focused on personal achievements, long-term learning, creative pursuits, or individual growth rather than collective victories. Discuss the role of social identity and group psychology. Explain how sports often provide a sense of belonging, tribal identity, community, and emotional connection. While some individuals satisfy these same psychological needs through different communities, such as professional networks, educational circles, online interest groups, artistic communities, or close personal relationships. Explore how people who do not obsess over sports may value autonomy and independent thinking, making them less likely to derive their identity from large groups or external affiliations. Examine the concept of emotional investment and how sports fandom can create powerful emotional highs and lows. Explain why some people choose not to attach their emotions to events they cannot control. Discuss how these individuals often prefer directing their emotional energy toward areas where their actions have direct impact, such as career development, business ventures, personal projects, learning new skills, family responsibilities, or long-term goals. Analyze the psychological satisfaction that comes from progress, mastery, competence, and self-directed achievement. Explore cognitive preferences and information consumption habits. Explain how some people naturally gravitate toward documentaries, books, educational content, podcasts, scientific discoveries, historical analysis, technology trends, business strategies, or philosophical discussions instead of sports coverage. Discuss how the brain seeks stimulation in different ways and why entertainment preferences vary significantly among individuals. Highlight how curiosity-driven people often experience excitement through discovery, learning, and intellectual exploration rather than competition between teams. Discuss the impact of culture, family upbringing, environment, peer groups, and social expectations on sports interest. Explain how exposure during childhood can strongly influence whether someone develops a passion for sports or remains indifferent to them. Explore how individuals who grow up in environments where sports are not a major focus may naturally develop interests in other areas. Analyze how societal pressure sometimes causes people to feel unusual or disconnected when they do not share the same enthusiasm for major sporting events. Examine common misconceptions about people who do not follow sports. Address stereotypes that portray them as antisocial, boring, disconnected, or lacking competitive spirit. Explain how many of these individuals are highly engaged in other meaningful pursuits and often possess strong passions that simply exist outside the world of sports. Discuss how enthusiasm can manifest in countless forms, including art, music, science, business, travel, technology, literature, psychology, or humanitarian causes. Explore both advantages and disadvantages of not obsessing over sports. Discuss potential benefits such as increased time for personal growth, education, creativity, skill development, financial goals, health improvement, and meaningful relationships. At the same time, examine possible drawbacks such as missing opportunities for social bonding, cultural conversations, shared experiences, and community engagement. Present a balanced perspective that recognizes value in both sports fandom and alternative interests. Analyze the psychology of attention and how people allocate their limited mental resources. Explain that every individual makes conscious or unconscious choices about where to invest time, energy, focus, and emotion. Discuss how these choices shape identity, habits, relationships, and life outcomes. Explore how people who do not obsess over sports often prioritize activities that align more closely with their personal values, ambitions, and definitions of fulfillment. Include relatable real-life examples of individuals who find excitement in building businesses, learning languages, reading books, mastering technology, creating art, studying history, exploring psychology, developing professional skills, or pursuing personal challenges. Show how these pursuits can generate the same sense of passion, purpose, and engagement that sports provide for others. Maintain an intelligent, thoughtful, and engaging tone throughout. Encourage viewers to reflect on their own interests, motivations, and sources of fulfillment. Avoid criticizing sports fans or portraying one lifestyle as superior to another. Instead, emphasize that human beings are diverse in how they seek meaning, entertainment, achievement, and connection. Conclude with a powerful reflection explaining that fulfillment does not come from following a specific path, but from investing time and energy into pursuits that genuinely resonate with one's values, curiosity, and vision for life. End with a memorable thought that reminds viewers that every person chooses a different arena in which to compete, grow, learn, and find purpose.